going on, guys? Alex here with 814 ADC, and today I'm ready to do my full review on the Kizer Knives Comet. Now, the Comet is, I would say, a classic Kizer Vanguard series design. It is designed by Paul Munko, and this is the newest and latest and greatest variation of the Comet design. Of course, it is in via the Lefty passaround group with the other red rich slate knife that Kizer just released in the Feist, which I'm not doing a full review of because you guys have already seen those on my channel, as well as the chili pepper, which you guys probably saw in yesterday's video if you are keeping up to date on my stuff. But yeah, the Comet is a cool little knife. I have never handled it before, never checked it out before, but like I said, I think that this is, when I think of like Kizer Vanguard series, I think of the Begleiter 2, I think of the original Sheepdog, I think of the Comet, just designs like that are just kind of like foundational, I feel like, in Kizer's sort of growth. And I know Paul Munko has other designs with Kizer. I can't think of the names off the top of my head, but I know he probably has 3 or 4, it seems like, with them. But I'm actually I like the Comet. The blade shape isn't exactly my cup of tea, but overall fit and finish is really good. Provides a really good flipping action. I like the red micarta on this one. Cool titanium clip. Just all around a pretty solid offering from Kizer and from Paul. It's pretty tried and true. There are, let's see here. Well, at least on the website, there's only 2 versions available, which I'll leave a link to down below. There's this one, and then there is green micarta with a brass bolster. I thought there definitely has been more, but they might have been more limited time knives, limited time variations. So there are currently only 2 available. But yeah, we're going to jump right into the review, right into the materials. So this is rocking some red, it's red denim micarta. And then this is technically brass as well. I did not notice it until I got on. I mean, I noticed it, but I thought it was titanium, honestly. But when I got on to, before I filmed the video to have up the specs and stuff like that, it is a darkened brass, which is cool. And you also have a micarta collar around there. You have a flipper tab, you have standoffs, you have a really nice milled titanium pot clip. That is kind of, I like how it's rounded off to be exactly the shape of the scale back here. Same thing on this side. Bolster with the pivot collar. You have 154 cm on a satin blade. This is considered a clip point. You have a little bit of a poon, a little bit of a ramp up here, and it drops down into a kind of a sweeping swedge up here. It comes down to a decently thin edge. Blade stock, I would say, is right in the middle. As far as internal milling on the liners, you have 3 on the show scale side and 1 on the liner lock side. You have plenty of lock bar access, which I really like. And yeah, so as far as materials are going, 154 cm, Kizer, that's like Kizer's tried and true. It's not their what's the word I'm looking for? Proprietary steel. It's not their own that they came up with. But for the longest time, 154 cm was like their bread and butter, and they still utilize it a lot in their sort of sub $100 models. And I just think it's, it's pretty solid for everything that they use it for. So 154 cm brass pivot or brass bolsters, micarta pivot collars, micarta scales back here, 3D clip. Don't know how you can argue against giving that a 5, so getting a 5. Some quick specs here. So overall length from tip to butt, 6.82 inches. Blade length coming in at 2.87. Blade thickness of 0.11. Handle length of 3.95. And it comes in weighing 5.26 ounces, which is very much you can very much thank it. What's the word I'm looking for? The weight is from the brass bolsters. I don't know what I was trying to say. My mind did, my mouth didn't. That's definitely where the weight comes from. But honestly, when I saw that, I was a little bit shocked because I did not think that this was weighing over 5 ounces. I thought 4 maybe for sure, but the fact that this weighs 5 ounces, I could never tell. So it definitely carries and handles better than the weight would sort of suggest. So yeah. Next up, we're going to jump into aesthetic. Now again, I'm not the biggest fan of this clip point style blade. Overall, it's not a bad looking knife. It kind of looks like a fish almost, or a bird. I'm not 100% aware or 100% sure where Paul got the sort of design idea from. But again, it's not a bad looking knife. It's not, the handle shape is nice and utilitarian. It's pretty much straight on both sides. I'll give it a 4. I think that's pretty fair. It's definitely not my favorite, but it's definitely not the worst design I've ever handled before. Next up is action. Now, as far as flipper only knives go, you guys know I tend to sort of stay away from them for adding them to my own collection. They're few and far between. Sorry, my nose is just so itchy. But this one has a really good flipper only action. You guys can hear the detent popping up out of there. It's a nice stout detent, sort of a pyramid style flipper. You have jimping running up here to the top, which provides, you can either do the push button, which I knew it was gonna hit my thumb, push button, which I tend to do more. You can also do the light switch where you land in front of it and drag back. That just seems like it takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more energy to where you just land right on it with the push button and just boop, pops right out. You get, that really nice momentum and that force behind it and just fires right out of there. Left hand too. No blade play at all, locked up super duper tight. And you guys can see on the close, it's very, very smooth. It's on bearings, drops to my thumb. The flipper tab gets in the way. I could drop it down a little bit lower. Try that real quick. Don't think it's gonna hit my cuticle. That should be good. Drops down, hits your nail. I mean, you guys can see when you get below the flipper tab, I mean, it's a free dropper to your nail, which is nice. And then one shake close. But if you just drop it past the detent ball, some micro shakes, or you can do this little thing with this and then just drop it down. I like doing that every once in a while for my fidgetability. But yeah, I mean, action, clean, crisp detent, great flipping action, nice, smooth, controllable closing action. 5 out of 5 when it comes to the Comet's action. Next up is acoustics. You get that nice snap and thwack when it fires out of there. Just a kind of a click when it drops home. It's good. I mean, but it's super repetitive. You just get the same thwack, shake, snap, or hold on, snap or thwack, shake, click, whatever you want to say. I'm going to give it a 4. I think that's fair. I think that's adequate. My Micarta tends to sort of, muffle sounds and everything like that. So I think it's very nice. I mean, you just get really that nice resounding snap and thwack every time. And it's good. So I'm going to give it a 4. Next up is ergos. Now, it's not the biggest knife. And you do have this flipper tab down here, which kind of acts as a restriction point. I can get all 4 fingers in the knife. I just have a little bit sticking out of the back there. Lands right here on the jimping. Or you can land out here pretty far up onto the blade if you're going to be doing push cuts. Really, really comfortable. You can utilize the sort of flipper choil up here if you had small fingers, or if you're just being very, very careful, because all it takes is one bad move or one bad, sort of jolt from your hand, and your finger is going to slide right onto the blade of that knife. Probably cut you pretty deep. So I would suggest if you're doing that, just be very, very careful and be slow and pretty controlled with your cuts. But yeah, milled clip is pretty flush. The edges right here are a little bit abrasive, not bad. They're better down here because they taper off into the scale. But luckily, the abrasiveness of these edges is right in the middle of my palm when I'm holding it like this, so I can't even feel it at all. Now, I'm kind of hit or miss when it comes to flipper only knives when ergos. Some have been really, really, not good. Speaking about the 2U knife scapuloid, because the way the flipper tab just like dug into my hand. This isn't bad. I mean, if I was just like absolutely death gripping this knife and it was like, I'm squeezing it as hard as I can, yeah, it's going to dig into the top of my pointer finger right there. But, when I'm just holding it like this and I'm just using it, it's not bad at all. Very, very comfortable. The Micarta is nice from Kizer. I'm a big fan of their micarta as well, similar to Vosteed. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not overly dry and like scratchy, but it's also like not super saturated. It's really nice, and this is the linen micarta, so it has sort of a softer feel to it. The brass feels good. Like I said, I thought that was titanium up until about 10 minutes ago, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, ergos are pretty good. Pot clip doesn't cause much of a hot spot, and for as big as the knife is, the fact that I can fit all 4 fingers on here comfortably and not have too much of an issue with the flipper tab digging into my hand, I'll say that's a win. So I'll give it a well-deserved 5, I think, with the ergos. Next up is carry. And again, this thing comes in weighing almost basically 5¼ ounces, but it carries better than that. I haven't carried this a ton, since I've had it in, just because I've had a lot of stuff across the table and, just haven't had that much time to carry it. But when I have, it's done decent. I've thrown this in my pocket knife shorts, my shorts and my gym shorts. I can't talk today, guys. My pocket of my gym shorts, and just free floating in there, carried okay. It weighted. You can definitely tell it's there, but it's not causing an issue with like pulling my pants down or anything like that. So no issues with wet. But my khakis and my bird dogs have carried this, I think, once. It carries fine. The pot clip, I will say, is a little bit long. I wish they would have ended it like up in here. You guys know I'm just kind of a stickler for like really long pot clips sticking out of your pocket. Not a huge fan of that. But I mean, you have about that much sticking up out of there. Definitely not a big deal at all. I don't mind, that much or so sticking up out of your pocket when it comes to milled clips. So not an issue. But when you stick it out in your pocket, you do have a flipper tab right here with jimping. So you just have to be careful of when you're down underneath the knife, digging out change, chapstick, coins, things like that. You don't want to pull this knife up out of your pocket when you go to remove your hand. So yeah, it's not, the best carryability when it comes to, smaller knives like this, just because, it is a little bit heavier, but I feel like it does carry. I'll say this, it's more top heavy because it's definitely the brass. I had no true issues with it, but I had to be, honest, and, going forward, it might not be the best carry for everybody. I'll give it a 4.5 just because that heaviness is there a little bit, and the, it's just not the best, but it's still pretty dang good. So I'll give it a 4.5. And lastly is price point / value / would I recommend this knife. So this version of the Comet is coming in at $89 on Kizer's website. And again, I've said this so many times before, when it comes to Kizers, Vosteeds, anything, that is considered a sort of budget category of knife, I think that this is a good value under $100. So, you have about $11 to work with when it comes to, kind of going back and forth on the price. And I think this is a good value. The fact that you're getting a milled titanium pot clip, you're getting brass bolsters, really nice red linen micarta, 154 cm on a clip point style blade, great, I don't say great ergos, good ergos, good carryability, great action. Kizer just really does a great job with their fit and finish with, everything like that nowadays. So I think it's a good value. I'm going to continue to give it a 5. And I just think it's a good knife. I was kind of expecting it. Well, I guess I thought this was titanium. So even then I thought it was going to be more than $100. So when I saw it was 89 bucks, I was pleasantly surprised, that it was sub 100 bucks. So let me count this up real quick. Alrighty, guys. So sorry, I just had a brain. I got lost in my train of thought. The Kizer Knives Comet is coming in at a 32.5, which lands it in my fantastic category. Just scraping in there by the skin of its teeth. But I do think it's a good, fantastic knife. I'm glad I got to check it out. I'm glad I got to finally experience what the Comet design is all about after all, a couple years of being in the knife community and always seeing it floating around and just knowing about it. I'm glad I got to check it out finally, and it really is a good snappy D10 on that flipper action. That's definitely probably what I'm going to miss the most, is just having that, nice responsive flipper only action. But yeah, drop a comment down below. Have any of you guys had, you know, Comet in your collection for a while? Are you interested in checking out this new variation? Yeah, let me know what you guys have to say. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. So I'm going to wrap this up now. So this was my full review of the Kizer Knives Comet. Finally getting to check one out after a couple years of, you know, like I said, knowing about it and wondering about it. And finally have been able to give you guys my thoughts on it. So, but yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your morning, day, night, week, year, life. Always thankful for you guys. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.